All right, so you're still watching the AM show. We're live here on the Joynews channel on your TV, and it's 15 minutes after 8. Time now for us to talk Ghana Institute of Chartered Accountants. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary, and they have some activities lined up. They are here to share with us on that. Fred N.K. Moore is CEO of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. Good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
And Angela Piasa is the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana. Good morning to you, Angela.
Good morning.
So 50 years, you were actually 50 years last year, and you're still celebrating.
Yeah.
So what are we really celebrating?
Yeah. It's been a whole year celebration, and the theme has been the role of the Chartered Accountant in Ghana, 50 years and beyond. And so we are at crossroads looking at what has happened in the past 50 years and what the projections are in the coming 50 years. The idea is the role of the accountant has been evolving from numbers crunching at the back office to business leaders going forward.
Okay. All right. So, Fred, you have a number of
public
lectures ongoing, and you're in Accra sometime soon. When exactly?
We start in Accra, the public lecture in Accra is on the 31st of March.
Okay.
We've done the Takoradi and the Kumasi one was just yesterday.
How has feedback been? What have you heard people say after the lectures?
It's been great. We had over 200 people attend the Takoradi public lecture, and 80% of them were very satisfied, which was good. And nobody complained about either the topic or the speakers. The facilities was also brilliant from the feedback that we've got. Yesterday's one was just yesterday, so we're still waiting for the feedback to come through.
I'm a little curious. The Institute of Chartered Accountants, who can go there?
Virtually anybody. And I always use myself as an example because I was virtually an A-level dropout. But somehow I managed to get in there and become a chartered accountant. It's about working hard, it's about being studious, and it's about wanting to do something for yourself. You know, we work to ethics, and so as professionals, ethics plays a very important role in our lives. And so if you want to be an accountant, then you must be ready to go by the law. Yes.
But we do have accountants who are not chartered. What does it mean to be chartered?
The professional training that you get, like the Madam President said, I think she was being very modest. You need basic A-level qualification or a diploma or be a graduate to get admission into
a graduate in anything.
A graduate in anything will get you admission into the program, or an HND will get you into the program. But the difference between a chartered accountant and somebody who has just done an HND or a degree or working in an accounts office is that you get the professional training. There's no country, an advanced country or developed country, that don't have a strong national institute. And for Ghana, we've had the sleeping giant, and the 50th anniversary is just woken us up. It's part of the process, and that is why we celebrate. That's part of the reason why we're celebrating.
Okay.
Because there's lots to come.
Let's focus attention on the public lectures. What exactly do you talk about? For instance, the one that's coming up on the 31st of March, what are you seeking? What sort of message do you want the ordinary person to get out of it?
Okay. The topic for the Accra one is sorry, accountability in the public sector, the professional's perspective.
Okay.
So now we are taking accounting or accountability in the public sector, and we are hoping that the resource person would help us identify what role the accountant plays, you know, to make sure that we have good public sector accounting, because government is the biggest spender in Ghana, and so it's very important that financial management in government sector is done properly and according to standards. So we are hoping that this lecture will engender some discussion around what role professional accountants, or if you like, other professionals, play in public sector.
Okay. So who are you expecting to be there? I mean, can anybody just turn up?
Yes, it's a public lecture and it's open to the public. And we are, in fact, yesterday I had a call from some people who were trying to find their way to the location. Apparently they had gotten the dates mixed up because yesterday was Kumasi.
Okay.
So that gave me an indication that there is some expectation, you know, among people as to what is going to transpire there.
Okay, so clear
it's
that
open
up for us.
Yes.
Where is it taking place? What time?
Do you want me to do?
Yes.
The public lecture is at the National Theatre on the 31st of March at 4 p.m.
Okay. 4 p.m. National Theatre, 31st of March.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, do you obviously expect professional accountants to also be there? I mean, must you necessarily be chartered?
No, yes, Fred.
No, I don't think so. I think it's an insight because the topics that we've taken across the 3 regions that we've done the public lecture is to not just limit it to accounting per se, but to use the accounting as the basis of some of the one in Kumasi, for example, was how do we eradicate corruption in Ghana and the accountant's perspective. And what we want to do is use what is topical in Ghana and bring the chartered accountant's view in.
Okay.
And what we are hoping this will do is people who are non-accountants working in the finance office will be energized to take up the professional training.
I like that a lot. You know, we all need some form of accounting in our lives, don't we?
Yeah.
But as very ordinary persons, how can we also, in our own little ways, ensure that we're being accountable to ourselves in some form? I know, and there's another thing I want to ask you. Why is it so difficult for accountants to give out money? And sometimes it's something that you're entitled to, but the accountant would say, come tomorrow. I mean, is it part of the training?
No, not at all. I don't know the accountants you've worked with. The accountants I've seen and myself, we are not like that. What we try and do is to make sure that the organization perspective is keen. If we can manage the organizational financial resources effectively, in the longer term, all of us will benefit. But a lot of the time, people look at the short term of the money that they are getting today, rather than what eating. There's a local proverb that said, "Edidida is better than just having your money today and then forgetting about." So that's what the accountant, a good accountant, will look at, not just what is happening now, but what is going into the future. What cash flow, your resources, your working capital, and all of that.
So if you have a small business, do you need to employ an accountant, Angela?
You mean, do you need to employ a professional accountant?
Exactly.
In fact, ideally, if you could afford it, I would say yes, because they would have all the training to help your business. But sometimes it's about affordability, and so people would use part qualified people. I would even encourage small businesses that if you want to use somebody who is part qualified, who is not fully qualified, at least the person should be a student of the institute, because then there will be some control over the person. The institute will have some responsibility as far as the output or the demeanor of the person is concerned. But if you just pick anybody off the streets, then you're on your own. Sometimes you see newspaper articles saying accountant has embezzled, you know, and you know the term accountant is used very loosely. Anybody who does work with figures is called an accountant, but really it's a profession. So some accountants actually have not been trained. They've just found themselves working in the account section and working with figures. And so if you employ such people, then they are not guarded by any regulation or any probably ethical binding. And so I'll use this opportunity to encourage employers that even if you cannot afford a fully fledged professional accountant and you need to take somebody much lower, try and make sure the person is a student member of the institute. It helps.
Okay.
It does
so
help.
can people refer to the institute, for instance, if they want persons like that?
Yes, definitely.
To work
yes,
with?
because we have our students database, we have our member database, we know where people are working, which industry and which skill sets and stuff like that. So we should be able to help, even though we are not a recruiting agency. That's not what we are there to do, but we can help. We can give some pointers. To people.
Could I just add something to that? On our website, there is a web portal that we've created for free. The aim of it was to support students who were looking for job or members who were looking for job. But over the last few months, there's a number of employers that have put their jobs there, and we don't charge anything. So that's a way of getting them to get the right people into the organization.
Sounds to me like, and this is how I have viewed the institute for a very long time, that it's a privileged kind of group of people, you're like privileged to be a part of them, that sort of makes you very expensive.
I like the privilege bit. I don't like the expensive bit. No, I think it's a privilege to be a professional accountant because the training you get guides you to become a business leader. And in Ghana, a number of the business leaders you see today are professionally trained chartered accountants. Right? And a number of the deans and all the CFOs are professionally trained chartered accountants. But in terms of the expense, to come to the Institute of Chartered Accountant is cheaper than a lot of the universities in Ghana, what you pay.
Really?
And the qualifications you get, the value you get, and the training you get, the sky is the limit for an individual.
So how long can you be trained to become? So say I went to the university, I have a degree in management studies. What sort of interests should I have in order to be accepted in the Institute of Chartered Accountants?
It's hard work. The first thing you need to do is to want to be an accountant. And
work with figures.
Not necessarily.
Be good at maths.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Really?
Yes, not at all, because there's one of the students who's done very well. She's in part 3, got a few more papers to do, and she did psychology in the university. And there's a lot of, because of her, a number of the psychology students have started coming to us. And these days, like Madam President said, years ago, accountants were at the back office crunching numbers. These days, you go to organizations, and the director of strategy is an accountant. The director of IT, it could be an accountant. The director of HR could be an accountant, because accounting is one profession that trains people for business. And the business talks the language. The business and accounting talks the same language.
And I want to even add that I think people who didn't do business subjects in senior high and university, who end up being accountants, probably do well, because they come with that background. It's not just about business, it's not just about business numbers, it's about a wider perspective. I know a lot of science, I did science in C4. A lot of science people who veer into business and do very well. So really, you can come from anywhere. It's not as restrictive, for example, as medicine, where you needed to have done physics, chemistry, biology, right from, you can come in at any time. It's a very interesting profession, and I'll recommend it to anybody who has interest, to pursue it.
Okay. All right. So back to that public lecture. Is that the final thing you're doing as part of the 50th anniversary celebration?
The last thing that we do, the final hooray is about an awards dinner on the 31st of April, which is
a month after the public lecture.
That's a month after the public lecture, yeah.
Okay. So any final words? Anything you want to say finally before we go?
Accountability is a word we identify with as accountants.
And we ordinary persons use it a lot.
Yes, And I think it is something that should be personal. We should be accountable to ourselves, to our conscience. It's easier to point to the other person and say, you are not doing something right. But I want to believe that if we all work to our conscience, and if we are all accountable to ourselves, then probably when you put the little bits together, you'd see a bit more accountability in our environment. Yes.
Okay. Fred?
The last words I would like to say is brand. I think the Institute of Chartered Accountant in the next 50 years is going to be the brand of choice for professional training. And because of the numbers of people that we've managed and the opportunities that it offers and the value for money that training as an accountant in Ghana offers you, because it's a lot more expensive to do it anywhere else, but you get the same training. We are members of the international bodies, all the international bodies, and we train you and give you a career almost for life, because it's one of those few professions that you can keep doing it after you retire.
After hearing you right now, I want to be an accountant.
You'll be very welcome.
Fred and Angela, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And you might want to give your website address so that people can get on for more information.
Thank you. The website is www.icagh.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And the Trinity International Seminary is celebrating its SRC week. We're talking to some students. Stay with us right here on the AM show. We'll be right back.